I mean, yes, it is starting to feel a bit like Karachi. Islam believes in that might is right. So if you have the power, you take over. Feel like I can't speak. If I speak against Islam, more and more, I'll lose my job. And the principal of the school came on and she told us that, we have struck a blow to the enemy.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Nick Talks. This episode's amazing guest, first time on the channel, but I've been on his channel maybe 4 or 5 times. He's an online friend of mine, and that's Momus Nadji. And you may know him from his channel, which is The World of Momus. First of all, welcome, Momus, to the channel.
Hi there, Nick. Thank you for having me on.
You're welcome. I'm sorry it's taken so long. I was watching YouTube the other day and you popped up on someone else's channel, and I went, why have I not had them on my channel? Not only should I have had them on, but it's extremely rude of me never to invite them on mine. And that's when I text you straight away going, you got to come
Yeah.
on mine. I've been on yours several times. We've talked about myths and legends. We've talked about my cancellation. I came on your, I think last Christmas I was on because you did a funny series of
Silly questions.
silly questions for Christmas. So these aren't silly questions. Let's get into a serious topic for today. And that topic I wanted to talk about was the religion of Islam. My understanding is you was born into Islam, but you're not a Muslim today. Where was you born? What was that journey? How have you ended up in the West? You don't have to give it me all in one go, but let's start with who are you and how did you end up here?
All right. So, obviously, everyone who might have watched your episodes on mine know me. But like, if anyone doesn't know, my Momus Najmi, and Momus is obviously not my given name. Momus is my pseudonym, and I've chosen it because, and this is basically my my name sort of encapsulates who I am, right? Because I've chosen it after the Greek god of mockery and satire, and that's what I do. So I was born in Kuwait in the Middle East, and I was around 4 or so years old when the Gulf War happened in 1990, and we sort of had to, because we left it too late, so we had to travel from Kuwait to Pakistan because my parents are from Pakistan. So we had to go by road and stuff like that. And after a year, when the whole war was ended, I went back to Kuwait and then I lived there till I was 14, 15. And then after that, we went to Pakistan to live in Pakistan, basically.
What were your parents doing in Kuwait?
Oh, so my dad, well, he was working. My mom was a journalist, and my dad was he sort of used to work, like it's sort of like Homer Simpson, like I know he goes and presses a button, but I don't know what he actually did. But after when I grew up, like when I was a bit older to understand what he used to do, he had changed his jobs. He was sort of like a data analyst or a system analyst or something, because like, in those days they were like these big rooms with big computers, right? So I went once as a kid to his office, and there were these big computers and he was changing some cassettes or whatever, like hard drives and stuff like that. So he used to do something to do with computers and stuff in the Ministry of Finance over there in Kuwait. So yeah, and basically, like, so I grew up in Kuwait, and my formidable years, I think so, were in Kuwait. So it was shaped by there, and over there, sort of like Dubai, not like the Islam is like Dubai, like it's very open and stuff. There's no, restrictions and stuff like that. I don't know how it is now, but I left in like 2000. So till that time it was very Americanized. So we had a very American sort of upbringing, and a lot of media and everything was from America, and the books, the teachings were more like in school were more like British teachers and stuff like that. So it was a mixed Western sort of, culture that I grew up in. In Pakistan, it was hard to adjust, obviously, because we went to Pakistan because now it's something that people don't understand, obviously, because over here people think, oh, if you're born in a country, you automatically should be given a citizenship, and that's it, right? Wow, now Kuwait doesn't do that. Kuwait does, they have gradations in their citizenships and stuff like that. So if you're born over there, you get nothing. If you're not born of any either of your parents are not Kuwaiti, like as in they can't trace their heritage to one of the Kuwaiti tribes. And that's basically a lot of it is to do with because they distribute oil profits amongst the Kuwaiti families, the government. So they don't just want to give it to everyone, right? And that's understandable. So I didn't get citizenship in Kuwait. I got given default citizenship in Pakistan because both my parents were from Pakistan. But like my dad was there since he was 18 years old, and so was my mom. Like they were there for a very long time, but it doesn't matter. So when it comes to that age of you're reaching maturity, like close to 18 or whatever, you either need to have a work permit in Kuwait or sponsorship or be studying, right? So it was like 3 years to that time that was gonna come up. My older sister wanted to go to uni as well, so we decided, okay, my dad decided, you guys go to Pakistan, you know, get in touch with your heritage and roots, the worst decision ever made. And because we had no relevance to it. And then he used to work in Kuwait and we used to live in Pakistan sort of thing for a period of 9 years. And that's the years like from the age of 15 to 24. That's the time when I kind of, because I had to be on my own in a way, not on my own, but like I was sort of the man of the house or whatever you might call it. And that's when I came to terms with a lot of things. I was exposed to a lot of things because my dad wasn't there all the time. And I ended up leaving Islam. It was in that period.
Right. So that had been quite a shock to the system for you. Obviously, growing up in Kuwait, very westernized, very rich country, but both your parents were Pakistani, so they would have talked about Pakistan. They would have talked about living there, growing up, their family, and then you've heard those stories. But then when you go back to live there, you must have went, "Where the hell am I? This is nothing like Kuwait. This is the third world, basically." So you must have really struggled with the change in your situation. How difficult was that? Because you still would have been saying to yourself, maybe, I wish I was back in Q8.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. For the whole most of the 9 years, that's what I was like hoping for, and I couldn't adjust. It was a huge shock because not only Kuwait is a first world country, it's a rich, very, very rich country. But obviously they have laws and rules and stuff which people follow. There's no danger to your life all the time. Those concepts are not there, and people don't cheat. Like, if you call an electrician to do some work in your home in Kuwait, they will do as told, like it's over here, right? Otherwise, you can report them. Those sort of little things, they matter, right? Because that's what a high trust society builds, right? So when I went over there to Pakistan, that concept wasn't there. Anyone can cheat you, right? Anyone can rob you, anyone can do anything to you, and actually people are actively looking to do that to you. They're looking to cheat you, they're looking to, you have to check the rice that you're taking, you have to check the wheat that you're taking because they might have mixed something and stuff like that. There's no standards, there's no food, like there's so many things. It was wild wild west, right? When you go over there, and yeah, it was so hard. I couldn't adjust actually. It wasn't hard for me to, I just couldn't adjust because they have a different mentality as well. Because obviously you can understand if someone is born in that world, right? In the world of Pakistan, they would be adjusted to it because they would adjust their expectations accordingly, right? Most of my time I spend, like, I don't know if you've seen Seinfeld or not, but there's a character in Seinfeld, George, right? And he goes around every time when some inconvenient thing happens, like, we live in a society. That's what I felt like every time when something was like, what are you guys doing? Like, we're supposed to be living in a society. Like, how are you behaving with each other? How can you have an accident and then just run away, right? Or have an accident and that person who had an accident get beaten up by 10, 20 people? Irrelevant. Like they're not even, don't have even relevance to the accident. They'll just come and beat you up because they're looking for something, right? And then it's like, what is going on? The world yeah, it wasn't something that a normal person can adjust to. I found I would say like eventually when I started going to university over there and stuff, I started finding sort of like a niche tribe in there, and I find those people who were similar minded to myself. A lot were agnostic, a lot were atheists and stuff as well. Many were like Sufis and stuff, but they were artistic people. They were, very well educated people, but not just educated as in, oh, they were engineers and doctors and stuff, because that doesn't really matter, right? Those are technical skills. You can become a doctor, as we have seen, but you will still go on saying free, free Palestine, right? But these were like people who were thinkers, who were actually intellectuals and stuff. The kind of people we actually don't get over here in Britain, right? Because these people usually choose to go to America or other places where they can earn more money or have more freedom and stuff like that, right? And that's the only solace I had in that little pockets for a little while. But it wasn't enough because you had to sort of remain hidden. It's sort of like, having a religion that you're only going underground to worship, sort of a thing, you know. It was, yeah, yeah. I mean, I can't even like believe how I survived those 9 years. And it made me do things that it was out of character for me. It changed my character a little bit as well. It's not like it was very conflicting. Every day was very conflicting with myself. Where I was like, well, it's not the right thing to do. And I was always that person who would say, oh, it's not the right thing to do. And I wouldn't do it. And I would suffer as a consequences of it. So that was my 9 years over there.
So you were there, you were in Kuwait till about 14, 15. When you moved to Pakistan, even though you're Pakistani national, I would, and tell me if this is not correct, I would imagine that you were looked upon as different. You weren't looked upon in Pakistan as a Pakistani. You were looked upon as a foreigner who's come back here, who thinks they're better than us, who's got more money than us. Da, 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 da. And I would imagine you were treated very differently to a normal Pakistan person in that country.
Yeah, I think so most of the problems I had in school were because of that. Not that I was like going like all haughty and stuff like that or anything of that sort, but it's just the way that I was, the way that I spoke.
Did you have a different? I'm presuming you had a different accent.
I Yeah, I couldn't speak Urdu properly, like with the proper Urdu accent as well. And people have to understand as well because I went to Karachi because that's where my parents were from, so they are Urdu speaking. If because different places in Pakistan they speak different languages, completely different languages. But my native language was Urdu. But I didn't speak Urdu that much even when I was in Kuwait. So there was a conflict in languages over there, a lot of conflict, right? So Kuwait national language is Arabic. We studied Arabic. I read Arabic. I used to speak very little bit of Arabic, which I've completely forgotten now. But I used to watch everything and read everything in English. I never read anything in Urdu till I was in school, and there was a Pakistani sort of lesson or something, and I had to so I learned Urdu as a properly as a second language rather than a first language, right? So everything, but I didn't speak. I spoke Urdu, but I read everything in English. So it's very confusing for me at times when it comes to languages. And yeah, and this is why I take English a bit naturally. It comes naturally to me. I think in English and I dream in English and those sort of things, But I know that Urdu is my native language. So when I went to Pakistan, it was hard for me to adjust because I couldn't read their signs properly and like I had to sort of learn like a bit more. So I became very proficient in Urdu. I used to even write poetry in Urdu and stuff. So I really taught myself, which I've again forgotten because I haven't done that for 15 years, right? But my first instinct was to speak in English, right? Like the words, I couldn't find those words in Urdu. So I had a very, like, I used to have a very small box for language in Urdu, like, and I had to speak half Urdu and half English. And I found a lot of people in Karachi actually speak like that anyways. So they speak half English, half Urdu. So they mix those words and so. So it was easier in that way for me to adjust. But the kids did like look down upon me. The kids, so they thought like like I'm a rich kid or something, and we weren't. We weren't rich. We were just like clean, like, cleaned up and stuff. Like, we were just more sophisticated in that sense of how our upbringing was, right? We weren't rich or anything of that sort. So yeah, they felt that I was very protected, and I was like a spoiled kid or something like that. I didn't knew the whole real world and stuff, so they would pick up on me, right? So they would try to bully me more. So those are the things I had to learn really quick, not to tell my parents or anything about it, but learn to fight, right? Because I hadn't needed that till that time, right? So I got into many fights, more than would have been any other normal kid. Like, they just got away. I had to prove that no, I'm not this sissy guy that you think I am. I just don't want to, be an animal basically. Yeah.
So when you're in Pakistan, I mean, Pakistan's a dangerous place for many reasons, but one of the reasons is all it takes in Pakistan is an accusation of blasphemy or something like that, and a crowd can come and kill you, literally kill you.
I've seen that myself.
I've seen the videos online. Now, you was in Pakistan, you probably started questioning your faith while you were there. How did that manifest itself? Because you would have had to be very careful.
So I mean, to give a bit of context to that as well, right? So I started leaving the religion from the age of 15. And that's when the 9/11 happened, right? So 9/11 happened, and obviously it's such a long time ago. I can't remember like the exact sequence of, events. But I know, like, either it was the next day or something like that. I didn't really know what was going on because I didn't, I'm 15 years old, who watches the news, right? So what, like, and there's no social media. So you're not really connected. You don't really know there's World Trade things happen if you're 15-year-old just playing cricket outside with their friends, right? So I went to school, and the principal of our school, like, in the morning, we used to have this whatever assembly, and all the from grade 1 to grade 12, the whole school was there, and, like, have like whatever thing that going on in the assembly. And the principal of the school came on, and she told us that, we have struck a blow to the enemy, and we have killed this many people and stuff. And everyone started cheering, and I was like, hang on, what's going on? And then she started saying, like, about the World Trade Center, that we've done it and stuff. And but three and a half, some 3,000 or something Jews were not there. It's probably they knew about it. Like, I was like, what is going on over here? You are like, and everyone was cheering, and I was like, you guys are cheering the death of the innocent people have died, you know. And I had heard that an event has happened, like a bit, or like something. My mom had said something like that, because, like, she was upset, like, innocent people have died and stuff. and and I was that was very shocking to me, right? Because so first I went into this phase of saying, oh, you guys aren't real Muslims, right? Because I had this in my head still, like, oh, I grew up with Arabs, then they are the real Muslims, they know the real religion. You guys just can't even read Arabic or something, you guys don't know, right? Like, that's why you're behaving like this. And I saw the reactions all over the other Muslim world as well, including the Arab world, of all cheering this. So, okay, there's something wrong going on. Maybe nobody knows the real Islam, right? So I'm going to become a good Muslim, and I'm going to lead them to the right Islam, like, So at that idealistic age, so I started researching more and more into the religion. And it took me, I think so, because I knew it very early on, okay, this religion is like a bit fucked up. I was like, this is not true. This can't be the God, right? But it took me 6 years to admit that to myself. I went to different phases. I started researching more into Sufism. I started calling myself a Sufi, and I started behaving like a Sufi and stuff like that, with all my friends and stuff like that. It's a more mystical world, so you can sort of, like, mix things and stuff like that. And I started discussing things with people, um, and sometimes in mosques, sometimes in other gatherings and stuff, just to raise certain questions, to raise doubts in their minds. And people started noticing what I'm trying to do, right? There were some cases where I outright told people to leave Islam, right? Like, so I was very open about it and stuff. And then I went into a phase of deism, where I was like, okay, there's a God, but there's no religion. And then I went into the final phase of being completely atheist at that time. And then all my close friends knew about it, and we used to joke about it. But obviously, we used to discuss these things and stuff, right? So they didn't out me. They didn't want to out me or anything of that sort. So people knew about it, but I was careful how I'm saying it. But at the same time, I think so ultimately it was something that saved me, like, from not being outed like other did. Because I saw people being beaten up, right, to death and stuff like that. So just
So let me so yeah, so let me just clarify. You've seen people being beaten to death in Pakistan because of accusations of something to do with it. Yeah, that's horrendous.
yeah. And it's a position where you're in of complete helplessness because you can't do anything and you know it's wrong and stuff. And it's yeah, you can't adjust to that. I've seen, like, people beaten up anyways, like, for other reasons as well. It's just the violence is so normalized, and the type of violence as well is so normalized and stuff that it's okay. Like, sometimes we see in these old Western movies, and it's still a movie, right? But we see in these movies, this cowboy goes around and something does wrong to him and he just shoots him. It's like, oh yeah, it's fine, and we cheer for that cowboy, like, yeah, because the might is right, like he's done what is right, right? And that's like that on a larger scale as a whole country. So they believe in that, right? They believe in that. Islam believes in that, that might is right. So if you have the power, you take over. Yeah, that's what you do. That's why they respect people like Putin. That's why they respect people like, the Chinese president and stuff, because they're like, well, they take what they want, right? That was that's what started really changing my mind as well. Like, that was a major thing in my mind where I couldn't reconcile. I was like, okay, I can live over here because other atheist people are living over here as well. They just pretend that they are Muslims. They go every year. They don't even go on Friday prayers. They go every year to the Eid prayer 2 times a year. And a lot of people who call themselves Muslims do that as well, by the way. They don't pray at all. They don't even know how to pray, and then just go once a year, like, Christmas mass, like, they'll do the Eid prayers, and oh, they're still Muslim. I was like, well, I can live that life, right? And I used to drink alcohol and stuff because there were ways to how you could get alcohol and stuff like that. There's ways where you can do everything that a Westerner does over there in your own enclaves, sort of thing, like, in your own groups, in your own tribes, sort of thing. And people do that all the time. So it came to that point where I could do that and live a very comfortable life, very rich and comfortable life and fulfilling life and stuff. Or I could be able to look at myself in the mirror, right? So it was between those things, two things for me. And that's when I had to make a choice. It's like, I can't, I just can't do it. I can't live a lie like this, knowing that it's a lie. And I can't admit it because if this religion was good, it would produce good outcomes. But it's not producing good outcomes. It's not producing good societies. It's not producing good human beings. These people talk about being Muslims, but they're not even humans. And this is something that my mom used to say, and like I used to say as well, like in Urdu, like they call about being like Muslims, but they're not even humans, like, and so and then I used to read a lot about the British history since I was a kid. I was fascinated with Britain. I was like, this is something that a society has produced that, right? And I started looking more and more into it as well at that age. Why have they produced this? Right? They have produced this because it must be to do with their ideology, what the things that they believe in and stuff. And then you start seeing, okay, Christianity was at the bottom of it, right? And then you start looking every country that Christianity has touched, you know, is morally better than other is objectively morally better than other countries. Their people are morally better, right? So how can I say my Allah is true when their God is producing better human beings? So and that was it. I was like, well, I can't live among these people because I can't associate with these people anyways. It doesn't matter if I'm ethnically of them, right? I can't call myself a Muslim. Oh, sorry, couldn't call myself a Muslim anyways, but couldn't call myself a Pakistani, right? It was like I can't associate with them. I have no love for the country. I've tried, but it's just something is not matching over here. So I need to find a home basically because this isn't it.
So then, did from Pakistan, did you come to the UK, or was the journey to get here? So you came straight to the UK. So let's look at your life in the UK. So you're in the UK. You know, you you've been westernized by growing up basically in Kuwait. You're now in the UK. You're an atheist in the UK. Have there been any problems here with you being of Pakistani descent? Well, ethnically Pakistani, rejecting Islam. Have you had problems in the UK?
So when I first came like 15 years ago, there weren't that many any issues actually. I felt very free when I came, and all of a sudden I was like, yeah, I had people around me, um, not by choice but by circumstances, who were Pakistanis. Right, but they were Pakistanis, they were Indians and stuff like that as well. Because I was a student, so you have to live student accommodations and so I found wherever I could live, like in a room or wherever while I was studying, and they were like Pakistanis and Indians and people over there and stuff like that. And they knew like that I'm an atheist. I was like, yeah, I left Islam, and I was like, you can't do a fucking thing about it because we are in England and these are English laws. Like I have freedom of choice, I have freedom of religion, I have freedom of expression. That's what it was even 15 years ago, and they knew it as well, you know, and they were really pissed off about it. Those Pakistani Muslims, right? They couldn't. They tried to debate me, and so I was like, I'm not even like doing it. Like, I don't believe in your shit. You don't believe in my shit. Let's like live and let live sort of thing. So I didn't used to have that many issues, but it could also be that 15 years ago I didn't go to live in Bradford, right? I didn't go to live in like those parts of London where it's all Muslims. So I was living in areas where it is more English, white English people, and there were few of them. That's why they couldn't do it. So that's why probably I got, saved by that instance. But progressively, what I saw like when I was in university, what I found my professors were they were in agreement with me being leaving Islam and being an atheist, but they were uncomfortable talking about it. Right? Because they were like, oh, okay, you can say it, but I can't say it. I was like, well, if it's the truth, then both of us can say it. Like, what is going on over here? And then they started talking about colonialism and how it's like how we have wronged you guys and stuff. It's like, what are you talking about? Every other nation who has had the ability to do so has colonized other nations. Like that has been the norm of it's still going on. China is colonizing Africa. It's it goes on in many different ways. This is how it happens. A set of people who have the ability to do it, they will impose themselves on others. It's a way of life that you have to become stronger, basically, like, as a society to repel that. It's not your fault that and I started telling them, like, you should be proud that your ancestors were from this little island, and the sun never set on your empire. Like, can you imagine that any other area in the world, any other nation in the world would be celebrating that? Look at Mongolia, they're nothing now, but they have huge statues of Genghis Khan, over there and stuff. Yeah, obviously you celebrate what your ancestors had done, and you also, in a Western thought, you try to understand what the wrongs were done so that they aren't repeated, which is only a Western way of doing things, which is a very good way of doing it, that you're actually self-reflecting. You're not just saying, oh yeah, yeah, whatever. So at the start, I didn't have any issues, but I did come in at 2010 when there was like high unemployment. It was the start of things of the David Cameron's, reign, and I started struggling. I was like, well, I am studying, but like I can't even find like normal jobs like for 20 hours a week or something in a restaurant or something like that. It's like what is going to be the after I finish my degree? Like, will I find have I made a mistake? Have I come into a country which I loved in my mind, but clearly it's not producing the results, right? Because I could see these Pakistanis and stuff. They were like some illegal Pakistanis, who were living over there, and we used to call them Faujis. Fauji in Urdu means soldier. So basically, they used to call them 4Gs because they're taking the risk, right? And they used to live there illegally. And after a while, some other Pakistani solicitor who was born over here, whatever, would help them get residency. Right. So I was like, surely, when they come to do that, like the English will find out and kick them out, right? That their laws can't be that lax, but no, they were. And so I was saying, like, okay, is like it started feeling to me like a failed society already. It's like there's something wrong going on. There aren't that many English people in London to begin with, right? They're these blacks and these Asians. They have their trousers to their knees, and they're acting in accents that aren't or talking in accents that aren't really English, speaking languages. They have these whatever words that they have, street language that they have. I can't understand what they're talking about, and I know English. I can understand English, but what is this? What is this? Right? I was feeling very depressed, and I was like ready to leave. I was like, you know what? I'm going to America. Everyone was right. I should have gone to America in the first place, right? Because everyone told me go to America. That place is filled with Punjabis. They've ruined that country. Don't go over there. That's what everyone in Karachi told me, that Punjabis have ruined that country. So I was thinking that, and I was going to do that. But that's when I met my now wife. She came from Poland on her uni break, and we met and we got together. She never left, and I never left. That was my anchor. And then because of her, because I stayed over here for that long, because she wouldn't go to America because that would be too far away from her family. So then I, fell more and more in love with the country, because it was like, okay, well, I have to live over here. I have to make it home, my home. Then that's how my story began. But the more I lived over here, the more years have gone on, the more trouble I've seen um, in speaking against Islam. I've received more death threats over here than I had in Pakistan, right? I had, and I'm finding it more and more disturbing. I feel like I can't speak. If I speak against Islam, more and more, I'll lose my job. I can't get, like, already for 5 years. I know, like, I won't get progress because they know I talk about Islam and stuff. Like, and many of the ex-Muslims are finding this out. It's a huge betrayal, I think so. Uh,
Is it big? Is it beginning to? Is it beginning to feel like you're back in Karachi? Because that's what it feels like to me. You moved here, and it's beginning to feel more and more.
The threat of violence is there.
Yeah, the homeland you fled, it's turning into that here now.
I mean, yes, it is starting to feel a bit like Karachi. I wouldn't say like it is exactly like Karachi, right? But it won't be that long till it's completely Karachi, right? It won't be that long, because what I'm seeing now over here is the same level of two-tier policing, which obviously exist in third world countries where the rich get away and the poor suffer, and which is what's happening to the working class, right? To the white working class, it happens. Everyone else is rich in that sense, right? And the corruption in that sense is also happening. People, nepotism is so high. It used to be merit, right? Like that's the third world marker of high nepotism and stuff. The food inflation is so high, you can't even afford anything, right? And people are demoralized. They don't believe in anything. People are um, basically just spending their time in the pubs or something like that, right? And that's a sort of way what you could see in places like Karachi and stuff. Okay, they don't have pubs and stuff. We still were going out for drinks, but we were spending money and time in doing stupid things, or like watching sports and stuff like that, and not really caring about what's happening, in politics, because you can't do anything about it. And those markers are there, and it's becoming more and more alarming, because many natives don't want to fight, and that what worries me. That what worries me is like, well, guys, I can't. This isn't my country like it is your country, and if you aren't willing to fight for your country, then people like me have no relevance. Like, we can't fight this fight for you. You have to, like, because that's when people say, like, oh no, we need ex-Muslims to talk about Islam. It's like, no, 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 I need English people to talk about Islam. I want you to say no, because once you say no, then you're removing this religion from your country, and we will benefit from it, and we can help you in the process. We can't lead it because they'll just shut us down as well, like they shut everyone down.
Can you see a silver lining? Can you see some light at the end of the tunnel? Because this last year, I'm beginning to see the signs that the English have had enough. It started with the protests outside migrant hotels. That then led to the raising of the colours, the flags everywhere. We had the Tommy Robinson march in London that, maybe 1 million people turned up. But I'm seeing more and more online people speaking up, people I meet on the street, people, my friends, family, who had never mentioned anything a couple of years ago. It seems like the English have had enough, and the English are beginning to wake up and saying to themselves, what the hell has happened to my country? I think we're at the beginning of major change in the UK. Do you feel the same? Can you see it?
I'm at the point where I'll see it when like, I need to see it a bit more. I mean, for me, I think so for everyone else as well, for yourself as well, you need to see it a bit more because you still see signs of, yes, there's two steps ahead and then you take one step back or three steps back sometimes, right? Because it would have been so much better if reform wasn't what they are now, right? Because that was our point of like politically, okay, yes, we have a party, everyone supports this party, everyone has something to, hold on to, and let's go for the kill now, right? And then it turns out like Farage is just being a liberal, right? So it's like, yeah, that's what's annoyed me. But I think so, like past 2 3 years since two three, I think so 3 years ago, like I was way down, but then I met Tommy Robinson and we had a chat, and I went on his podcast and stuff, and it gave me hope a bit. And then in that summer, he did like a meeting, and he invited me to that meeting for Unite the Kingdom. That was the first meeting where all the Unite the Kingdom people met. And then that's when I felt, okay, there are some people actually in the background that want to fight, right? Because I was feeling very lonely, and I was feeling like this country that I've come to love so much, and I love its history. I want to live over here. I like everything about it. It feels like home to me, and it's crumbling, and I don't want it to crumble, right? Like, but if people over here can't fight it, how can I fight it? But then I found people of this country who are willing to fight, and I was like, okay, game on, let's go, right? And that's the mode that I'm in. So I will try to do what I can. I feel like people have had enough, but I also feel like people, more needs to happen. They need to be pushed more, and I think so. A labor government was very necessary. I think so. It was very necessary. The Starmer's government to push people to the extreme, to the edge, where people don't fall into that trap of, oh yeah, but my Muslim friend, oh yeah, but my moderate Muslim friend. I think so. People are getting fed up of that now, and yeah, and the end of liberalism has to come. Liberalism in government, right? Like you can be liberal in your life, but the government cannot be liberal. The more liberal the government is, the more it's gonna give way to its enemies, right? So I think so that is what people are seeing, that we are being taken advantage of. I'm very encouraged to see like even the people who support liberal Democrats and Labor as well, they are also pro deporting illegal migrants, right? For me, that's obviously the first step. Like, it has to, like, illegals are very low in numbers. It's the legals that are a problem. And the Boris wave and all of that. And, the balkanization of England that has happened in Bradford and all those cities and stuff that I saw, like what happened over the weekend or whatever in Tower Hamlets, where these Bengalis are coming out and saying, oh, this is our areas. Like, what the hell are you talking about? You haven't been over here for 2 minutes. 40% of you live on social housing. This isn't your area. It's paid by, like, the benefits. So yeah, and that sort of stuff, I think that needs to be tackled. And hopefully the more that they show their hand, the English need to respond. And I'm seeing it. I think so. Most of the English might not be saying it, but I can feel that they are feeling it now, right? And I think so we are getting somewhere. And this is the same reason as well, because I was thinking for a very long time, should we stay here? Should we remain here? Or should we go to Poland? You know, It's very hard for a Polish person not to want to go to Poland when Poland is doing so good, like for my wife, you know. But now we finally we're buying a property over here. We're locking ourselves in at least for 5 years and saying, okay, let's see what happens because I think so. There's something is coming.
Mm. Oh, I absolutely agree. Something is coming. If we just look at the last 6 months, 6 months ago, no politician in the UK was talking about deporting anybody. Even Reform was saying you can't deport illegals, you just can't do it. 6 months later, Reform and Tories are now talking about deporting all illegals. We had a Tory leadership contender the other last week talking about banning the burqa. He wants to ban the burqa.
Robert Jendrik, isn't it? Yeah, yeah.
So the conversation is changing all the time. We're saying things today we couldn't have said a year ago. The whole public mood is changing. And I think whoever wins the next election, the next government will initiate some big change. It won't be everything I want, but it will be change. And I think in the next 2 decades, I think this country will dramatically change. And I think that only happens when the English have had enough. And like you, at the last general election, I actually wanted Labour to win. Not because I support Labour, but I wanted Labour to win. Yeah, I wanted Labour to win to get us to rock bottom because I knew we're not going to change until we hit the bottom. And they did it a lot quicker than I thought they were going to do. It took a year,
Yeah, it's only been a year. Can you imagine that? Like, sometimes you have to pinch yourself. Oh, they have only been in government for a year.
15 months.
The hell? Yeah, 15 months. And I know, like, I criticize different political parties on the political right a lot. And and sometimes people think, oh, I just want everyone to fail. It's not, I just want them to do better. I just want them to wake up. I just want them to realize, look, we're all in this together. On the politically right side, conservative side, the traditionalist side, we're all sort of in this together. Let's give up our hangovers from these liberal ideas. You know, there's so much free market capitalism and stuff like that. Yes, we need proper capitalism, not crony capitalism, you know, but we need to safeguard our borders above all. We need to safeguard our people. Culture matters over money. That's what I'm trying to put forward to people. Economy would not matter. We will just become, you know, economic zone one, international refugee center England, you know. uh, it wouldn't matter. You need to safeguard culture. Culture comes from people, you know, and people are not just like anywhere people coming over here. They don't make the culture. That's the native culture of the native people. So we have to come to terms with it. We have to safeguard the native population by any means necessary if we want to save Britain. Because if we're saving Britain, where we don't care about the demographic change, right? If that's the Britain that we're saving, then that's not the Britain, right? That's a new Britain. That's a Tony Blair Britain. That's a global citizen Britain. That's not the Britain of old, right? So there are two different versions of it. And Labour has that version of Tony Blair Britain as well. That's why they wave their flags and, like, you know, Union Jacks as well. It's like, but no, no, no. You're raising the Union Jack of the new Britain in your mind, right? That's not the Union Jack that I'm raising. And that's what people need to realize on the point of reform on the Tories, especially the Tories. I think so because they are the oldest political party in the world. They really need to be reformed, and like even parties like Advance UK that are coming up as well, seeing some very positive signs from them, whatever it might be. These people all need to wake up to what's going on. They need to stop caring about, oh, like, oh, this is a racist thing that I've said. It's like, doesn't matter, doesn't matter. You know, stop caring about what the liberals are labeling you with, you know.
I think that's a fantastic place to end. I agree with every word you said then. If we're going to save England, save the United Kingdom, it starts by saving the culture of this island. Because without this culture, then there is no England, there is no Great Britain. We're just economic zone 8 in a European globalist agenda. And we need to save the culture because the culture is what defines the people. The culture is what created the greatest empire the world has ever seen. The culture is what makes the country. It's I'd rather save our culture and be poorer, just like what you just said then. Thank you so much for coming on today. I will leave your channel descriptions in the description of this video, so please go check him out and sign up to his channels, interviews, and talks about some very interesting things. Momus, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you, Nick, and thank you everyone else.
Bye bye.